The moon hung high, casting pale silver light over the jungle. Shadows stretched like long claws across the damp ground. A low growl echoed through the thick trees. Thunder, a big ex-army service German shepherd dog with a scar across his muzzle, stood firm. His fur bristled. His sharp eyes scanned the circle of wolves closing in around him and the young boy he had sworn to protect. "Stay behind me," Thunder growled softly without taking his eyes off the wolves. The boy, no older than 7, trembled as he clutched Thunder's back fur. He could barely see in the dark, but he knew Thunder would never leave him. Thunder was massive, his body built with thick muscle from years of training and service. His paws were large and steady, capable of moving silently through any terrain. His fur was a dark mixture of black and tan, with patches of gray near his ears showing his age. Despite his years, his strength and instincts were sharp as ever. Soldiers had once called him a protector, and today, that title still held true. The wolves twisted their jaws. Their eyes gleamed in the moonlight. Thunder bared his teeth and barked loudly, a sound that echoed like a crack of thunder. For a moment, the wolves hesitated, but Thunder knew that moment wouldn't last long. Earlier that day, everything had seemed peaceful. Thunder's master, Stephen, had brought him and his young son, Alex, to the jungle base camp. Stephen loved adventures. He wanted Alex to experience the beauty and mystery of the wild. "We're going to explore deep into the jungle," Stephen had said with a smile. Alex's eyes lit up with excitement. Thunder stood beside them, alert as always. His job was to protect. It had always been his mission. Stephen trusted him, and Thunder trusted his own instincts. The jungle was beautiful, but it was also unpredictable. Danger could come without warning. Before they set out, Stephen gave Alex some safety instructions. "Stay close to Thunder. Don't wander off, and listen to what I say," Stephen told him firmly. "I will, Dad," Alex promised, his voice filled with excitement. Thunder watched Alex closely. The boy was curious and full of energy. Thunder knew it would be a challenge to keep him safe in this vast, wild place. The journey began with bright sunshine filtering through the trees. Birds chirped cheerfully, and colorful parrots flitted from branch to branch. Alex giggled when he saw a group of playful monkeys swinging on vines. "Look, Dad, they're so funny," Alex shouted, pointing at the monkeys. Stephen laughed. "They're called capuchins. They're very smart." Thunder's ears twitched as he scanned the surroundings. He was always on alert. The jungle was alive with sounds, but none of them signaled danger. They followed a narrow, winding path deeper into the jungle. The air grew thicker and warmer. The tall trees stretched high above, their branches forming a canopy that blocked out most of the sunlight. Alex's excitement didn't fade. He picked up interesting rocks and pointed out unusual plants. "It's like a whole other world here," he said in awe. Thunder's senses stayed sharp. He sniffed the air and listened carefully to every rustle and crackle around them. So far, everything seemed calm, but as the afternoon went on, he noticed something. The birds were quieter now. The jungle didn't feel as friendly. Thunder's ears perked up. He let out a low growl. "What is it, boy?" Stephen asked, stopping to check on Thunder. Thunder didn't relax. He sniffed again. There was a scent in the air, wild and unfamiliar. He nudged Alex gently, urging him to stay close. Stephen noticed Thunder's change in behavior and grew more serious. "Let's keep moving. We need to find a good spot to camp before it gets dark," Stephen said. They continued walking, but Thunder remained on edge. The jungle felt different now. The cheerful atmosphere from earlier was gone. By the time the sun began to set, Thunder knew something was wrong. The rustling of small animals had stopped. The only sound was the crunch of their footsteps on the path. Stephen decided to set up camp in a small clearing. Thunder circled the area, sniffing and checking for any hidden threats. Alex helped his dad gather wood for a fire. As the fire crackled to life, its glow pushed back the shadows of the jungle. "This is going to be fun," Alex said, sitting beside Thunder and patting his head. Thunder didn't feel relaxed. His instincts told him that something was watching them. He stayed close to Alex, his body tense. The distant sound of howling broke the quiet. Alex froze. "What was that?" he whispered. Stephen's expression hardened. "Wolves," he said quietly. "Stay close to Thunder." Thunder growled softly, his eyes fixed on the darkness beyond the firelight. He knew that the real danger was just beginning. The fire crackled softly in the clearing as the howls faded into the distance. For a moment, the jungle was silent again, but Thunder's instincts screamed at him. Something wasn't right. He sniffed the air. The scent of wolves was faint but there. They were close, watching, waiting. Stephen added more wood to the fire, his face tense. "Let's keep the fire going all night," he said. "Wolves usually stay away from fire." Alex nodded, but stayed close to Thunder. "I'm not scared," he whispered, though his voice trembled a little. Thunder stayed alert. His ears twitched at every sound. He knew the wolves wouldn't leave easily. He paced around the camp, his eyes scanning the darkness. The jungle felt different now. The trees seemed taller, their shadows longer. The cheerful sounds of birds and insects had vanished. The next morning, they packed up and continued their journey. Alex tried to stay cheerful, pointing out plants and colorful insects, but the trail grew harder to walk. Thick roots and slippery rocks slowed them down. Thunder moved ahead, scouting the path. He sniffed the ground and paused. There were tracks, wolf tracks. He growled softly to himself. The pack was still following them. He turned and led Alex and Stephen forward without a word. As they walked, Thunder's unease grew. The birds stayed silent. The jungle felt too quiet. He kept picking up the scent of predators, faint but present. Stephen noticed his behavior, but tried to stay calm. "Looks like an old animal path," Stephen said when he saw the tracks. "Nothing to worry about." But Thunder knew better. He kept Alex close, his senses on full alert. The sun began to set again, casting long shadows across the trail. Thunder's instincts told him they needed to find safety soon. Stephen found another clearing and decided to camp there for the night. Thunder sniffed around, circling the area. The scent of wolves was stronger now. He barked once, a warning. Stephen understood and prepared the camp quickly. "We'll be fine," Stephen said, trying to reassure Alex. But Thunder knew the wolves were getting bolder. They weren't far. As night fell, Thunder stood guard, his sharp eyes watching the darkness. The jungle's warning signs were all around them now. Twilight settled over the jungle. The trees loomed like giants in the fading light. Thunder stood still, ears twitching. His sharp eyes scanned the shadows. He spotted something in the distance. Two glowing eyes stared back at him from the underbrush. The wolves were close now. Stephen noticed Thunder's tense posture. "They're here, aren't they?" he asked softly. Thunder growled in response. Alex clutched his father's hand. "Dad, I'm scared," he whispered. "We'll be okay," Stephen said firmly. "Stay close to Thunder and me." The wolves didn't attack immediately. They circled the camp, staying hidden in the thick trees. Thunder could hear their soft footsteps. He barked loudly, hoping to scare them off. For a moment, the jungle grew silent again. Stephen knelt by the fire, adding more wood to keep the flames high. "We should keep moving. They'll wait for the right moment," he said, watching the shadows. Thunder agreed. His body language made it clear they couldn't stay here. "Let's go," Stephen said. He quickly packed their supplies. Alex held on to Thunder's fur as they started walking. The jungle grew darker with each step. The wolves followed silently, their eyes occasionally flashing in the distance. Thunder led the way, guiding Stephen and Alex through thick vegetation. He stopped suddenly, his ears perked up. A rustling sound came from the left. One of the wolves was trying to get closer. Thunder barked again, his deep voice echoing through the trees. The wolf backed off, but didn't leave. The pack was testing them, waiting for a chance to strike. "Thunder knows what he's doing," Stephen muttered, mostly to himself. He tightened his grip on Alex's hand. "Just keep moving." The trail became rougher. Alex stumbled over a root, but quickly got up. "I'm okay," he said breathlessly. Thunder paused to check on him, then continued leading. He knew they needed to find another place to camp, somewhere safer. Suddenly, a low growl came from the right side of the trail. Thunder turned his head sharply, his teeth bared. The wolves were making their move. One wolf stepped out of the shadows. Its fur was dark and matted, its eyes cold and hungry. Thunder placed himself between the wolf and Alex. He barked fiercely, his deep voice cutting through the jungle's stillness. The wolf hesitated but didn't retreat. "Dad, it's coming closer!" Alex cried out. Stephen grabbed a large stick and stood beside Thunder. "Stay behind us, Alex," he ordered. Thunder lunged forward, snapping his jaws at the wolf. The wolf yelped and backed away into the trees. More growls echoed around them. The pack was still there, watching, waiting for another chance. Thunder stood tall, his eyes never leaving the shadows. He wouldn't let them get near Alex. "Keep moving," Stephen said urgently. They hurried down the trail, Thunder staying close to Alex's side. The jungle seemed to close in around them, but Thunder's presence gave Alex courage. The wolves had made their first move, but Thunder wasn't backing down. The jungle was silent except for the steady crunch of their footsteps on the dirt path. The air grew thicker with tension. The wolves were out there. Thunder could feel it. He kept glancing to the sides, his ears twitching at every sound. Alex clung to his father's hand, his small fingers trembling slightly. Thunder stayed close, his sharp eyes never resting. "We'll keep moving until we find a better spot," Stephen whispered. His voice was calm, but his eyes darted nervously through the shadows. A sudden rustling from the trees made everyone freeze. Thunder's low growl rumbled deep in his throat. His body tensed, every muscle coiled and ready. The rustling grew louder. Then, from the underbrush, more glowing eyes appeared. This time, the wolves didn't stay hidden. They stepped forward, one by one, forming a loose half-circle around the group. "They're closing in," Stephen muttered, gripping the stick he carried. Alex whimpered softly. "Dad, what do we do?" Thunder barked loudly, stepping forward to shield Alex. He knew what he had to do. This was his mission. He had protected soldiers before, facing enemy fire, and now he would protect this boy, even if it meant facing an entire wolf pack. The largest wolf, a massive black beast with piercing yellow eyes, emerged from the trees. Its fur was thick and ragged, scars crossing its face like a warrior's badge. Thunder stared into the wolf's eyes, recognizing the challenge. This was the leader of the pack. The two locked eyes, neither one backing down. The pack watched, their growls low but steady, waiting for their leader's command. "Stay behind me," Stephen ordered, his voice firm. He pushed Alex farther back, closer to the trees. Thunder took a step forward, his fur bristling. He let out a deep, warning growl. The pack leader bared its teeth, a low snarl escaping its throat. Thunder knew this would not end without a fight. He had to buy time. He had to protect them. The black wolf lunged. Thunder met the attack head-on, their bodies colliding with a force that shook the ground. Thunder clamped his jaws around the wolf's shoulder, shaking violently. The pack leader yelped in pain, but retaliated quickly, snapping at Thunder's neck. Thunder dodged and pushed the wolf back with his powerful body. Alex screamed, his eyes wide with terror. "Dad! Thunder! Stay back!" Stephen shouted, gripping Alex tightly. His voice was strained with fear. Thunder fought with everything he had. He dodged and lunged, his instincts guiding him. His age didn't matter now. Years of training, experience, and pure loyalty drove him forward. He bit down hard on the pack leader's leg, forcing it to the ground. The wolf howled, the sound echoing through the jungle. The other wolves hesitated, their leader's moment of weakness shaking their confidence. Thunder knew he had to press the advantage. He barked fiercely, his voice echoing like thunder through the trees. The pack's formation broke as a few wolves backed away, their eyes uncertain. The black wolf struggled to its feet, limping slightly. Blood stained its dark fur, but it wasn't finished. It snarled again, preparing for another attack. Thunder stood tall, his breath heavy but steady. He knew this fight wasn't over. "We need to run," Stephen shouted. "Thunder, come on!" But Thunder didn't move. He looked back at Alex, his eyes calm and steady. He had made his choice. This was his final mission. The black wolf charged again, and Thunder met it halfway. The two clashed violently, teeth and claws tearing through fur. Thunder knew he couldn't keep this up forever. He had to end it now. With a surge of strength, he threw the wolf to the ground and pinned it, his jaws closing around its throat. The wolf struggled, its snarls turning into choking gasps. Finally, it went limp beneath Thunder's weight. The pack fell silent. One by one, the other wolves retreated into the shadows, their leader defeated. The jungle was quiet once more. Thunder stood over the fallen wolf, his chest heaving. He swayed slightly, but held his ground. He turned to look at Alex one last time. The boy's eyes were filled with tears. "Thunder," Alex whispered, his voice breaking. Thunder's legs gave out beneath him. He collapsed to the ground, his body exhausted and wounded. He had given everything to protect the boy he loved. His eyes closed slowly, his breathing shallow but peaceful. Alex ran to him, sobbing. "No! Thunder, please!" Stephen knelt beside them, his own eyes glistening with tears. He placed a gentle hand on Thunder's head. You saved us," he whispered. Thunder's ears twitched slightly at the sound of Stephen's voice. He gave one final, soft breath, his body finally at rest. He had fulfilled his duty, giving his life so that Alex and Stephen could live. Thunder's legacy of loyalty and love would forever be etched in their hearts. He had completed his mission. Thunder had given his life to protect the ones he loved.